All right, so hi there and welcome. I'm Debbie, and I help couples plan unforgettable destination weddings that are stress-free, personal, and absolutely stunning. And today I'm pulling back the curtain on one of my favorite weddings, Jobita and Tommy's celebration in St. Croix, the U.S. Virgin Islands. If you're thinking about a destination wedding, this is a perfect peek at what's possible, whether you're just starting or you're just knee deep in, I don't know, Pinterest boards, people still doing Pinterest and Instagram or what have you. So I'm going to share with you some of the what went on, and we'll talk a little bit after. But here goes. A little about Jobita and Tommy. They're from the Washington, D.C. metro area. And when we first connected, they were dreaming of a destination wedding in St. Croix, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, when they came to me, they had already made the decision. In fact, they'd already reserved, chosen their hotel, the Divi Carina Bay Resort in St. Croix. I believe the reason for that destination selection is that Tommy's good friend hails from St. Croix, and for that reason, they chose that location. A lot of times, destinations have a significant meaning to the couple. Either they visited, or they have family there, or they're from there, but not always. But if you're thinking of a destination, go back to what if there's any kind of connection there. And all these images I'm showing you here are of the couple. They're actually, the photos were taken in St. Croix. Jobita and Tommy are very laid back. Jobita knew what she wanted. She was pretty set on that, but not in a fussy way. She was just very confident in her selections. Tommy also just, I'm not going to say, just very easygoing and calm. These are the clients that I would want to have every time I work on a destination wedding. What they hired me for, in essence, was to be a day of coordinator, meaning someone to be there and to be a point person for their guests and tie up all the loose ends. I wasn't involved in the planning stage from the beginning, but although by the time they hired me, there were some things that we worked on together, like in communication with the resort staff and so forth. So these are pictures of the beautiful island of St. Croix. One of the things that you want to make sure that I would suggest that you do for your destination wedding is arrive several days before the wedding. And this gives you an opportunity, of course, to communicate with the resort staff and see where everything is, but it also gives you a great opportunity to get photos just like these. And if you're going through the process of having a wedding, a destination wedding, then it stands to reason that you want to capture your destination, and doing this with photographs that are set up at the destination makes all the sense in the world. Another way of doing this is to also to do a scouting trip, a preview trip, which means you go to your destination months before and meet the resort staff. So it's not brand new to you when you arrive for your wedding. Even if you do arrive a few days early, you meet the staff, you meet the team, you see where you're going to have your ceremony, you see where you're going to have the reception, you look at the rooms, but you can also have your photos, do the equivalent of engagement style photos at the destination. Just, book this ahead of time and make sure you get the photographer in place to do so. So this is the Divi Carina Bay Resort. This is on the east side of the island of St. Croix. St. Croix is the U.S. Virgin Island territory. Calm, laid back. St. Thomas is more touristy than St. Croix. Divi Carina, though, is located across the way from the island's only casino, which brings in a lot of foot traffic from locals and visitors. But by no means is it a crowded or, crazy place. When I say busy, that's all, take that with a grain of salt. We're in the Caribbean. Some resorts are primarily beach. Others are primarily, they got the great pools. Divi Carina has the best of both. You've got the pool here and then a great beach. This is the view from one of the rooms. This is the lobby when you come in. It's a really nice resort. Stunning views. You can see this is I like this shot here. This captures the essence of that location. So On the wedding day, it's all hands on deck. That's me getting to work and trying to figure out fails and things like that. But something happens when you're in the Caribbean. You just pick up that laid back vibe. And this is the groom and his best man just an hour or so before the ceremony starts. I mean, maybe for women it'd be different. For guys, it's sort of like you just chill, just being cool. And don't forget that, when you are, it takes planning a destination wedding. It's different because you're not there to, during the planning process, you don't have your hands on everything. You have to do a lot of trusting. But when you get there and it's showtime, as it were, just, it's going to be okay. What will be, will be. This is Tommy speaking with a relative. And the great thing about a destination wedding is that you've got several days to spend those that that your close family and friends, as opposed to a local wedding where you're trying to cram in everything in just a matter of hours. And without fail, someone, you're not going to be, there are certain people you may not get to talk to or get to see because you're just so busy and you don't only have a limited amount of time, right? So while Tommy and his is out there chilling and resting, relaxing, you've got the bride frantically, I shouldn't say frantically, but getting ready. And, she's here with her maid of honor and others and a member from our planning team there just helping her to get ready in the hotel room. Again, Jobita, very laid back, and her dress is simple, but it works very well for the climate. Don't forget, the Caribbean is hot. And, I'm not saying you should have a simple dress, but just keep that in mind with whatever it is you choose to wear. And, again, just to emphasize that laid backness of Jobita with her veil before she has a dress on, and then her veil after she has her dress on. Just a very stunning look. And this is Jobita before she walks down the aisle as she's leaving the room. As you can see, her dress, I think, works beautifully. She has her veil, and that bouquet, I think, works very well for that look. And I'll tell you a bit more about that bouquet for the wedding. So as with, you've got the groom waiting anxiously at the altar, and, Tommy's wearing linen, which I think is appropriate for that climate. Not so much for the pastor, the officiant, who's there in his full suit, but that's his job, and that's how he needs to appear. Okay, so then we've got to get the flower girl down the aisle, and she is adorable. You'll note the basket there, which I think is a great contrast, and we've got the petals there ready for her to sprinkle. And this is another great shot of Jobita. You'll notice very little makeup. She's got lipstick on, hair pulled back, and this is perfect for the temperature, the climate. Now, I will tell you, it poured rain less than 30 minutes before the ceremony was about to begin. And we thought we were going to have to bring everything indoors. But as tends to be the case in the Caribbean, it rains, sometimes torrents of rain, and then as quickly as it starts, it stops. Sun comes out, and you wouldn't believe, not for the drops of rain on beach furniture and so forth, you wouldn't even realize that it had rained minutes before, just literally minutes before. So Jobita has her bouquet, but there's something I failed to do, and that was I didn't get around to putting the boutonniere on Tommy's lapel. So what he did creatively was that he tucked it onto the side of his linen pants, and I think it worked out well. Saved my butt anyway. And this is another image of them during a really special moment at the wedding ceremony. Just to give you a glimpse of a portion, this was after the ceremony, and this is where the license is being signed. But I just wanted to give you'll see this is a very, the ceremony was set up in a very simple area. Now, the sand isn't as smooth as it was because we had the rain before, but you'll see, they've just got a ring of, they've outlined the altar there on the ground, and then the staff at the Divi Carina wrapped the palm tree with a little bit of decor there. This is a simple, intimate wedding, and I think very, very effective. Now, I know there are a lot of brides who want to bring the very elaborate setup at for the destination wedding. And you can do that depending on your location. But I also want you to give some thought to this is the Caribbean, and a lot of the beauty is there already. You don't need a whole lot to have a memorable, beautiful wedding. And I think this is an example of that. Now, I wanted to point out let's talk about a few of some of the elements, the special elements that with regard to this wedding. So in the Caribbean, we had the steel pan band to accompany the processional throughout the ceremony and for the recessional and also for the prelude. The prelude is while the guests are being seated before the bride makes her entrance. So we had the band there. But then what we also did was we took it a step further and we had a local children's choir to provide. They sang a few songs during the ceremony. And I will tell you, this is the point where the tears started to flow. Their voices are so pure. And they were there, most well-behaved children I've come across. You see they're in their uniform. They have the madras scarf. And it was a stunning and simple, impactful part of the wedding. We also set up fans. And on the front, I didn't get an image of the back. We've got the blue on the white, but on the reverse, it's blue with white font. And this served as a favor, something that guests could take with them. It was had a physical component. It made sense because you could use it for a fan, in the Caribbean, but also there was a program on the back that let them know what the order of things were. And this was something that I created here, printed here at home, and then adhered to these sticks and then assembled with the ribbon when I arrived in St. Croix. So this was something that was handmade by yours truly. Also the Flowers Girls basket, I created a simple basket. We stuck silk flowers, as you can see, the roses around there to cover the basket, and then just wrapped the handle with ribbon. And you'll see here the bottom of the, I'll put on I didn't get to do the base, but this was another way that we were able to get the color, to incorporate some pops of color. We didn't really have a big theme. What we did was we bought parasols with us, and I bought parasols and brought them with me from the U.S. mainland to St. Croix, and tried to coordinate that with the color of the baskets. Now, I will be the first one to tell you, please don't bring tons of stuff from home to your destination wedding. So I'm breaking my own rules. We bought the parasols, and also, the baskets that I made. I can't remember if I made the baskets before I left. I think I did. I don't think I would have hot glued them there. I'm sure I did that at home and then brought the baskets with me. The parasols came with me. And then this is the maid of honor's floor arrangement. It's called a kissing ball or a pomander ball. It's really just a ball, styrofoam or foam, and we've glued these silk roses to the ball to cover the ball, and then the hint of the pop of color, which matches the fans that you saw earlier, that blue. So we tried to pick that up with the bride for the maid of honor. And this was intentional so that her hands can be free. You've got the bouquet and you've got to hold on to stuff. We didn't want that. So I told you I would talk about the bride's bouquet. Now, when you're in the Caribbean, you have to be realistic. Certain flowers are not going to survive the heat. And I believe lilies are one of them. And you'll notice there are lilies here. So this bouquet was actually created by yours truly. These are silk flowers. And Jobita saw a picture of a bouquet, and I replicated that with the roses and the lilies, and then the stuff that's whatever the grasses that you call that. Now, I think it worked out really well. She loved it, and I'm not sure if you would have known they weren't real unless I told you. You can tell me, you can be honest and say, no, I knew they were fake. But it worked out well, and this is one way to guarantee you have the flowers that you want for your wedding, but just make sure they're great quality florals. You don't want anything that screams plastic from a distance. These are the parasols that we brought, and they have a practical purpose. That was the word I was looking for earlier. Couldn't think of it. Shielding guests from the sun. So we had the white ones that were set up in the buckets that you saw earlier, and then we also had colored ones, which the bridal party had, and then Jobita had her own one that had a little bit more decoration on. And you can see you got the pops of the pink or the fuchsia, whatever you call that, and the turquoise against the white, and it works out really well. And then some of the bride's mom and her godmother had the roses on for the lapel, the ones that I forgot to put on the groom. But I think it kind of gives a nice look. Again, this is very simple. This is, they're walking from the ceremony site to the reception. Now, there were more guests than this. I think we had about 25 to 30 guests maybe that were there. And this is just some of them making their move to the reception site. So the way Divi Carina had this set up is they set up this tent here for us for the wedding reception. May not be a whole lot to look at from the outside, but they did a really great job of setting up on the inside. And I want you to notice that you don't need tons of decor for a wedding to look stunning. I mean, this is white on white. They've got the flowers growing across the front, but the Caribbean is the backdrop. So don't get too carried away with that. And you'll see we've got the clear windows through the walls of the tent. And that was to shield, I don't know if you can see the droplets there because it was raining off and on, but it wasn't a downpour, but it worked out well. And you can see the bouquet here. I keep tooting my own horn. And these lanterns up here, I think we brought those with us too. So another shot of the table. And then at that time, cupcakes were a thing. And the cupcakes were made locally. I brought the cupcake stand, I believe, and I also bought this mosquito net. I don't know why I bought the mosquito net. I don't know if we thought we might have been having the wedding outdoor, the reception outside in the open air, but I think it worked out well. And this is another shot of the ceremony, part of the reception. We don't have all the guests seated yet, and you can see the lanterns on the top. I'm pretty certain that the lanterns I brought those with us. We brought the lanterns. I did exactly what I'm telling you not to do. I brought stuff. And then this is the couple for their first dance. And then we see them here again. Just a very laid back, but beautiful wedding. I think everybody had a great time. This is a shot of the close family. Now these images are really great. This is a fun, I love this one with the flower girl on the hammock. Jobita and Tommy opted to bring their photographer in, fly the photographer in from the mainland. I was going to say from the US, but the St. Croix is the US. This is because photos were important to her. She wanted magazine ready photos. And I think they got that. And as you remember, I pointed out her parasol was a little different. You can see she has some print on hers, but that was important to her. So she flew the photographer in, and that means paying for, in addition to the fee, they were responsible for round trip airfare and lodging. The same was true with me. As her planner, she pays my fee, but it also is responsible for round trip airfare and accommodation. But that was important to her. You have the choice to do that. You can also find local photographers and local planners, but you want to be confident in your selection there. And again, these photos by Corey McNabb, I think were fantastic throughout. There are tons of them. I'm showing you the ones that I could pick for you. So of course the inevitable, the jumping, well, she didn't do the trash. She didn't go into the water with it, but I think this really encapsulates where they are. And, this is destination wedding. You'll notice that Jobita didn't wear shoes. She had the foot jewelry. I don't know what the right term is there, which just kind of goes around her ankle and then just connects on her toe. And that's what she wore through. That was her footwear throughout the entire wedding, her choice. And so Jobita. It's, she's got her plain pedicure. This is just a very naturally, and I think it really fits in with the destination, which is the Caribbean. And then last but not least, this is the photo that I love, which points to all the different places, the directions for the Caribbean islands, but it shows this is a destination wedding. And, I hope this sort of gives you an idea of what's possible, but this was one of my favorite weddings to do and be a part of. Jobita and Tommy are just one of the coolest couples you'll ever come across. So what I wanted to just show is what's possible. This was a small wedding, and it was in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And of course, if you choose the U.S. Virgin Islands and you're coming from America, your guests are coming from America, you don't need a passport. So there's that, but you're still in the Caribbean. There are a few things I wanted to point out that I think are important. The one thing Jobita and Tommy did not have was a professional videographer. And I should have leaned in on that and pushed that a little further. There was a guest, one of their guests had a camera and captured some of it, but not a professional. You see how professional the photos looked. We don't have video. I would have loved for you to have been able to hear the children at the choir. It would have been great to hear some of those moments during the ceremony and the speeches at the reception. We lost that. So whether you're having a local wedding or a destination wedding, and a professional videographer, I think, is needed, even if you've got folks who are going to capture it. It doesn't negate someone using their iPhone and so forth. So this wedding was a few years ago, and we've come a long way with regard to just being able to pick up our phones and, you know, record and do everything. Regardless of that, it's your wedding, and I think you really should have a professional videographer. Divi Carina Bay is now an all-inclusive. At the time of this wedding, it was not. And I think to be fair to your guests who are investing in round-trip airfare and accommodation, an all-inclusive means they don't have to worry about what they're spending for breakfast and what it's going to cost for lunch and all these incidentals. An all-inclusive, you pay one rate per night and you get everything. So if you're heading to if you're having a wedding at a destination that has all-inclusive resorts, or some hotels are not traditionally all-inclusive, but they have an all-inclusive plan, then that's a big plus. If you're having guests, they will thank you for that. And in this instance, this wasn't included. Each meal, there was a cost associated, and that may be fine. You know your people, right? But I think it's a good consideration for a destination wedding. Just be aware it might rain, and local or destination, it might rain, but it's not the end of the world. It rained on Jobita and Tommy's on the wedding day minutes before. But as I said, within minutes, it was over and done with. And even if it wasn't, it would have been fine. I didn't tell you this, but I said I was there as the day of coordinator, but the wedding was actually a few days. We had the rehearsal, we had the wedding day, and then the following day we had like a gathering for a few of the guests. Not so many people attended that, to be honest, the day after. So several days there. When you're hiring someone there for the day, locally or destination, usually it's more than the day. You know, there's lots of other moving parts. Like I was there, they're assembling bouquets and putting things together. That's what's involved when you bring someone. A lot of resorts have their own on-site team. Divi Carina at the time had one gentleman there helping with the weddings, and there was a lot of back and forth. It took a lot to get a lot of things done before the actual trip, before I got there. And that was part of why Jobita and Tommy hired me. But if you feel for some reason you're at a resort, whether they have staff or not, well, definitely if they don't have staff, and you think, of course, you can't decide this on the spot, but you're getting the sense that you want someone else there to be your wing person, then I think this is a solid investment. If you are feeling any doubt that you just bring in a professional to help. Even if you've already, when Jobita and Tommy contacted me, they had already reserved the Divi Carina. I didn't have any input on that. But once I was on board, it was just trying to, dot I's and cross T's. That's really what I was trying to accomplish. And then last but not least, hold on, let's see. God, it's all happening today, right? A smaller guest count really is a good thing for a destination wedding. In fact, it's the reason why so many people choose a destination wedding. Fewer people are likely going to attend, but don't be surprised if you get more people attending than you thought. The smaller your guest list, then your location options expand. Because if you got a big group, there are only so many places that can accommodate everyone, right? So if you have a smaller guest list, that's okay. It can work in your favor. You are still responsible for paying per head for each guest, for meals, reception. It's just like having a local wedding at home. You've got to pay for those things, but you're probably your money's going to go further with a destination wedding in the Caribbean for most part, but you can spend as much or as much as you choose. But if you have the smaller guest list, you'll definitely have a lot more options to choose from. Okay. All right. So that's the information I wanted to share with you today. I don't know. I hope that wedding has inspired you. As I said, Tommy and Jobita, were dream clients. And St. Croix wasn't even on my radar, but it worked out well. The only thing is that, we flew from here to, I forget, is it St. Thomas? But then we have to take a smaller plane into St. Croix. And when I say small, I mean small, like 12 people on a plane, small. So if that can be a little disconcerting. I got over it, but it was, wait, that's the plane? So just keep that in mind. And of course, that means, you've got to coordinate the timing and make sure that everybody can get to the island in time for the big day. Any questions you have, please, type them in the comments if you're live. And if you are watching the replay, you can still type them in the comments. I'll read them and respond to you at a later time. I'll respond to you whenever I see them. Just so that you know, if you want to keep up with when okay, so let me back up. Initially, I was doing live on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern, and have since changed that. Today, it's an evening, 7 p.m., and I'm wondering if we're going to stick with that. But today it was at 7. I will come up with that decision in a matter of days and post that, and hopefully you can join. But if you or someone is thinking about having a destination wedding, or maybe they've already booked their hotel or booked their resort. I keep saying hotel because most destination weddings in the Caribbean are at a hotel. That's why I'm saying that. But if they've booked the destination wedding and maybe just things are just going a little, it's a bit more than they thought, I can still help. Please, send them my way. Just go to HitchedAway.com/call and schedule time, and I'll happily share, help, advise, whatever it is that's needed. I'll lay it all bare. And if I cannot help, I'm pretty sure I can point you in the right direction. All right. Thanks again for joining me. It's been wonderful having you here. I'm Debbie, and you can find out more at HitchedAway.com. And please follow and like on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you. Hi, Mom. Bye, Mom. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Thanks. Bye. Oh, and thank you, Just Court. She said we heard everything. Good. Thank you.